In the darkness of the deserted highway, a desperate mother carries in her arms the weight of an irreversible decision. The wind whispers ancient secrets as she abandons her child among the twisted roots of a solitary tree. But when a black horse emerges from the mist, the child's fate changes forever. Now guided by mystical forces and hidden dangers, he must face a legacy that challenges the balance between light and shadow. Before listening to this thrilling story, remember to subscribe to the channel. Night fell over the deserted highway in the southern United States, enveloping the landscape in a cloak of darkness and mystery. Sarah, with a broken heart and tears running down her cheeks, held her little son Ethan against her chest. Each step she took moved her further away from the life she knew, but closer to a decision she never thought she'd have to make. The wind whispered through the trees, as if nature itself was trying to console the young mother. Sarah stopped next to an old oak tree, its rugged bark dimly illuminated by the waning moon. With trembling hands, she placed Ethan, wrapped in a blue blanket, in a hollow formed by the tree's roots. "Forgive me, my love," Sarah whispered, kissing her son's forehead. "It's the only way to keep you safe." The words caught in her throat as she walked away, each step more difficult than the last. She didn't dare look back, fearing her resolve would falter. In her mind echoed the threats, the dark shadows that pursued her, forces she didn't understand but knew would endanger her little one's life if he remained with her. Ethan, oblivious to his mother's pain, slept peacefully. The soft whisper of the wind through the leaves seemed to lull him, as if nature itself had decided to protect him. Hours passed, and the chill of the night began to seep in deeply. Ethan stirred, his cry breaking the silence of the night. It was then that something extraordinary happened. From among the shadows emerged a majestic figure, a horse as black as the night itself, with eyes that shone like stars in the darkness. It was Thunder, a creature that seemed to have been forged by the ancient magic of the earth. Thunder approached the child, its presence radiating a supernatural warmth that instantly calmed Ethan's cries. With gentleness, the horse took the blanket between its teeth and placed the baby on its back. As if following an invisible path traced by the stars, Thunder galloped through the night, carrying its precious cargo. The hooves resonated with a mysterious, almost musical rhythm as they crossed forests and streams. At dawn, Thunder reached the outskirts of a small town in the Appalachian Mountains. There, in a modest house surrounded by a lush garden, lived Emma and Jack, a couple who had longed for a child for years. That morning, Emma went out early to water her plants, as was her custom. It was then that she saw Thunder, motionless like an ebony statue, with little Ethan sleeping peacefully on its back. "Jack!" Emma shouted, her voice mixed with amazement and excitement. "Come quick!" Jack came running out of the house, rubbing his eyes in disbelief at the scene before him. Together they cautiously approached the majestic animal. Thunder, with a gentleness that contrasted with its imposing figure, bowed, allowing Emma to take the baby in her arms. The moment Ethan felt Emma's warmth, he opened his eyes, revealing an intense green that seemed to contain the wisdom of ancient forests. "It's a miracle," Jack whispered, placing a protective hand on his wife's shoulder. Emma, with tears of joy in her eyes, nodded. "He's our son," she said with a conviction that came from the soul. Thunder softly neighed, as if giving its approval, before turning and galloping back towards the forest. Emma and Jack watched in amazement as the magnificent animal disappeared among the trees, leaving behind a trail of mystery and magic. That night, as Ethan slept in a makeshift crib, Emma and Jack quietly discussed the extraordinary turn their lives had taken. "Do you think anyone will look for him?" Jack asked, concern evident in his voice. Emma caressed the sleeping baby's cheek. "I don't know, but something tells me he's meant to be with us. That horse, it wasn't an ordinary animal." Jack nodded, remembering Thunder's bright eyes. "You're right. There's something special about all of this. About him. We'll protect him," Emma declared firmly. "We'll love him and raise him as our own." As the couple sealed their promise with an embrace, outside the house a gentle breeze rustled the leaves of the trees. For a moment, it seemed as if the wind was whispering an ancient melody, a song of destiny and magic that was just beginning to unfold. In the darkness of the night, Ethan's eyes briefly opened. A green flash shone in them, as if responding to a silent call from the earth itself. The child smiled in his sleep, still unaware of the extraordinary destiny that awaited him. Thus began the story of Ethan, the boy brought by a magical horse, destined to be much more than a simple adopted orphan. In the Appalachian Mountains, under the care of Emma and Jack, he would grow to discover his extraordinary gifts and the crucial role he would play in the balance between humanity and nature. The years passed quickly in Asheville, North Carolina. Ethan grew up surrounded by the unconditional love of Emma and Jack, who fulfilled their promise to raise him as their own son. The small mountain town, with its charming streets and colorful houses, became the perfect setting for a childhood filled with magic and discoveries. From a very early age, Ethan showed an unusual connection with nature. Emma's lush garden, which had always been beautiful, seemed to flourish with renewed vitality under the boy's touch. Plants would lean towards him as he passed, as if seeking his attention, and withered flowers would revive with just a gentle brush of his fingers. Emma was the first to notice these extraordinary events. One afternoon, as Ethan played in the garden, she observed him kneeling next to a withered rosebush that had been attacked by pests. "It's sad, Mom," said Ethan with a seriousness uncommon for a 5-year-old. "But I can help it." Before Emma's astonished eyes, Ethan closed his eyes and placed his small hands on the earth around the rosebush. A soft green glow emanated from his palms, and within minutes the rosebush began to straighten. New buds emerged, and soon beautiful red roses opened, more vibrant than ever. "Jack!" Emma called, her voice trembling with emotion and amazement. "Come see this!" Jack came running, left breathless by the scene. "Incredible," he murmured, observing his son with a mixture of pride and perplexity. As Ethan grew, his abilities became more evident and powerful. Not only could he revive withered plants, but he also seemed to communicate with them in a way that no one else could understand. He was often seen sitting silently in the garden, as if listening to stories told by the trees and flowers. News of Ethan's gifts spread quickly through the small town. Some saw it as a miracle, others with suspicion and superstition. Emma and Jack, concerned for their son's safety and well-being, tried to keep his abilities secret, but in a place as small and close-knit as Asheville, rumors flew. One night, when Ethan was 8 years old, a storm hit the town with unprecedented fury. The winds howled and rain fell in sheets, threatening to flood the streets and destroy the surrounding crops. In the middle of the night, Ethan woke up startled. He could feel the pain of the earth and the fear of the plants in the face of nature's destructive force. Without thinking twice, he ran out of the house into the garden, ignoring his parents' shouts. Under the torrential rain, Ethan extended his arms and closed his eyes. A bright green aura enveloped him, slowly expanding to cover the entire garden and beyond. The trees straightened, flowers opened, and the earth itself seemed to absorb the excess water. Gradually, the storm subsided, turning into a gentle drizzle. Emma and Jack, soaked and amazed, watched as their 8-year-old son calmed a storm with the power of his connection to nature. When it was all over, Ethan turned to them, his eyes shining with ancient wisdom. "The plants were scared," he explained simply. "I just reminded them that they are strong." That night marked a turning point. Emma and Jack understood that their son was not just special, but possessed a gift that could change the world. They decided it was time to seek answers and guidance. The next morning, as the town recovered from the storm, an unexpected figure appeared at their door. Grandmother Willow, the local healer, an elderly woman respected for her wisdom and knowledge of ancient traditions. "I've come to see the boy who talks to plants," said Grandmother Willow, her voice laden with years of knowledge. "It's time for him to begin his true learning." Emma and Jack exchanged looks of concern, but deep down they knew this moment would come. Ethan, for his part, looked at Grandmother Willow with curiosity and respect. "Can you teach me more about my gifts?" asked the boy, his voice full of excitement and anticipation. Grandmother Willow smiled, her wrinkled eyes shining with a flash of recognition. "I can show you the path, little one, but the true learning will come from the earth itself and from what you carry within." Thus began a new stage in Ethan's life. Under Grandmother Willow's tutelage, he learned about ancient traditions, the healing properties of plants, and the importance of balance in nature. His powers grew and refined, but so did his understanding of the responsibility they entailed. However, fate had more surprises in store for Ethan. One day, while exploring the forests near the town, he encountered another boy his age, Noah, who showed an equally astonishing ability. He could communicate with and guide animals with supernatural ease. The meeting between Ethan and Noah was like two pieces of a puzzle fitting perfectly together. Together, they discovered that their gifts complemented each other, creating a unique bond between the plant and animal worlds. "It's like I've always known you existed," said Noah, as a group of birds confidently perched on his shoulders. Ethan nodded, feeling the same connection. "I think we were destined to meet," he replied, as nearby vines moved gently, as if dancing to the rhythm of silent music. That night, under a starry sky, Grandmother Willow gathered Ethan and Noah in a small cave on the outskirts of town. With solemnity, she revealed the truth about their destiny. "You children are part of an ancient line of guardians," explained the old woman. "Protectors charged with preserving the balance between humanity and nature. Your gifts are not coincidence, but a sacred responsibility." The eyes of both boys widened in amazement as Grandmother Willow told them about the 5 sacred crystals, artifacts of immense power that maintained the balance of the natural world. "The day will come when you must awaken these crystals and protect them from those who seek to use them for selfish purposes," continued Grandmother Willow. "But for now, you must learn, grow, and strengthen your gifts." As Ethan and Noah absorbed this revelation, a familiar neigh resonated outside the cave. There, bathed in moonlight, stood Thunder, the majestic black horse that had brought Ethan years ago. "The Guardian has returned," whispered Grandmother Willow reverently. "Its presence confirms that the time of the Guardians has come." Ethan approached Thunder, feeling a deep connection with the mystical animal. Noah, at his side, seemed to communicate silently with the horse. That night marked the true beginning of their journey as Guardians. Under the guidance of Grandmother Willow and the protection of Thunder, Ethan and Noah would embark on a path of discovery, danger, and magic, destined to face forces that threatened the delicate balance of the world. As they returned home, the stars seemed to shine more brightly, as if the universe itself recognized the awakening of the new Guardians. In Asheville, North Carolina, a new chapter was about to begin, one that would intertwine the fate of 2 extraordinary boys with the future of the Earth itself. The sun was barely rising over the Appalachian Mountains when Ethan and Noah met at the edge of the forest. At 12 years old, the two friends had developed a daily routine of training and exploration, guided by Grandmother Willow's advice and Thunder's vigilant presence. "Ready for another adventure?" asked Noah, petting a small fox that had confidently approached him. Ethan nodded, his eyes shining with anticipation. "Today I feel like something special is going to happen," he replied, as the leaves of nearby trees whispered, as if confirming his words. Together they ventured into the forest. Ethan led the way, his hands gently brushing the bark of the trees, feeling the pulse of life flowing through them. Noah followed closely, his senses alert to the movements and sounds of the animals surrounding them. After an hour of walking, they reached a clearing they had never seen before. In the center, an ancient tree stood majestic, its branches extended like protective arms over a small pond of crystal-clear waters. "It's beautiful," whispered Noah, marveling at the serenity of the place. Ethan approached the tree, feeling a strange attraction. Upon touching its bark, a vision flooded his mind. He saw Thunder, younger and radiant, galloping through a primordial forest. The horse carried a rider, a figure wrapped in light, holding something bright in its hands. "What do you see?" asked Noah, noticing the look of amazement on his friend's face. Before Ethan could respond, the water in the pond began to glow with an ethereal blue light. From its surface emerged a translucent figure, a woman of ethereal appearance, with hair that seemed made of water and light. "Welcome, young guardians," spoke the apparition, her voice resonating like the murmur of a stream. "I am the Water Guardian, one of the ancient spirits that protect the elements." Ethan and Noah looked at each other, amazed and a little scared. "Do not fear," continued the Guardian. "You have been guided here because it is time for you to begin to understand the magnitude of your mission." With a gesture of her hand, the water in the pond formed images in the air, They saw the 5 sacred crystals, each shining with a different color, representing the elements of nature. "These crystals maintain the balance of the world," explained the Guardian, "but dark forces seek to control them for their own ends. Your task, young Guardians, will be to find them and awaken them before it's too late." Noah, regaining his speech, asked, "How can we find them? And what will happen when we awaken them?" The Guardian smiled sweetly. "Each crystal is hidden in a sacred place, protected by tests that only true Guardians can overcome. Upon awakening them, your powers will grow, and with them, your responsibility." Ethan, remembering his vision, intervened. "I saw Thunder in a vision. What role does he play in all of this?" "Thunder is more than a simple horse," replied the Guardian. "He is an ancestral being, a guide and protector. He will help you in your quest and prepare you for the challenges you will face." Before they could ask more questions, the Guardian began to fade. "Time is running short," she warned. "Trust your instincts, your gifts, and each other. The fate of the natural world depends on you." With these words, the apparition dissolved into the pond, leaving the 2 friends alone in the clearing, overwhelmed by the revelation. The journey back to town was silent, each lost in their thoughts. Upon arriving at Grandmother Willow's house, they found the old woman waiting for them as if she knew they would return with new questions. "I see in your eyes that you have had an important encounter," said Grandmother Willow, inviting them to sit. Ethan and Noah recounted their experience in the forest clearing. Grandmother Willow listened attentively, nodding wisely. "The Water Guardian has shown you only the beginning of your path," she explained. "Now you must prepare for what is to come. The training you have received so far has been just the beginning." The following days were a whirlwind of activity. Grandmother Willow intensified their training, teaching them ancient meditation techniques and control of their gifts. Ethan learned to channel the earth's energy to strengthen plants and cure more complex diseases. Noah perfected his ability to communicate with animals at a distance and understand their deepest needs. Thunder became a constant presence, appearing at crucial moments to guide them or protect them during their most dangerous training sessions. The bond between the 2 friends and the mystical horse grew stronger every day. One afternoon, while practicing deep in the forest, Ethan and Noah faced their first real test. A group of illegal loggers had arrived in the area, threatening to destroy an ancient and sacred part of the forest. "We have to do something," said Noah, feeling the fear of the animals fleeing from the noise of the chainsaws. Ethan nodded, his connection with the trees making him feel their pain. "It's time to put into practice what we've learned." Working together, they used their gifts in ways they had never attempted before. Ethan made roots and vines grow rapidly, entangling and stopping the loggers' machines. Noah summoned a flock of birds and a group of monkeys to create a distraction, scaring the intruders. In the midst of the chaos, Thunder appeared, his imposing presence and powerful neigh causing the loggers to flee in panic, convinced they had witnessed something supernatural. That night, exhausted but euphoric from their success, Ethan and Noah shared their experiences with Emma, Jack, and Grandmother Willow. "You've taken a big step today," said Grandmother Willow with pride. "But remember, with great power comes great responsibility. You must use your gifts wisely and only when necessary." Emma hugged Ethan, a mixture of pride and concern on her face. "My boy, I always knew you were destined for something great. Just promise me you'll be careful." Jack, placing a hand on Noah's shoulder, added, "That goes for you too, Noah. You're part of this family now." That night, under a starry sky, Ethan and Noah sat in the garden, reflecting on the day's events and what the future held for them. "Do you think we're ready for this mission?" asked Noah, his voice mixed with excitement and nervousness. Ethan looked at his friend, a confident smile on his face. "I don't know, but what I do know is that together we can face anything." As the 2 friends sealed their commitment with a handshake, a shooting star crossed the sky, as if the universe itself was blessing their friendship and mission. What they didn't know was that far away, dark forces were already moving. Project Genesis, led by the enigmatic Olivia Blackwood, had detected unusual activity in Asheville, North Carolina. Soon, the peaceful life of Ethan and Noah would be threatened by a danger they couldn't even imagine. Dawn tinted the cobblestone streets of Asheville golden when Ethan and Noah met in the central square. At 15 years old, the two friends had become well-known figures in the town, respected for their unique abilities and willingness to help anyone in need. "Did you feel that last night?" Ethan asked, his voice laden with concern. Noah nodded gravely. "Yes, the animals are restless. Something is changing." The night before, a strange energy had swept through the town. The plants in Ethan's garden had stirred without wind, and the animals Noah could perceive were nervous and scared. "Grandmother Willow is waiting for us," Ethan remembered. "She says it's time to start our true mission." Together they headed to the small cabin on the outskirts of town where the old healer had summoned them. Upon arrival, they found Grandmother Willow sitting in front of a fire, her eyes closed in deep meditation. "Come closer, young guardians," said the old woman without opening her eyes. "The moment we've been waiting for has arrived." Ethan and Noah sat in front of her, expectant. Grandmother Willow opened her eyes, her penetrating gaze fixed on them. "The sacred crystals have begun to awaken," she announced. "I can feel their energy pulsing through the earth. It's time for you to begin your search." "Where do we start?" asked Noah, his voice mixed with excitement and nervousness. Grandmother Willow pulled out an ancient parchment map from her clothes. This map shows the approximate location of the 5 crystals. The first, the crystal of earth, is hidden in the depths of the Great Smoky Mountains. Ethan studied the map carefully. "It's several days' journey from here. And it won't be an easy journey," warned Grandmother Willow. "Each crystal is protected by guardians and tests. Only those worthy will be able to claim them." At that moment, a familiar neigh resonated outside the cabin. Thunder had appeared, as if knowing it was time to depart. "Thunder will guide you," explained Grandmother Willow. "Trust him and your instincts." As the young men prepared to leave, the old woman handed them 2 small crystals, one green and one brown. "These fragments will help you locate the larger crystals," she said. "The green one will resonate with the energy of the earth and plants, the brown one with that of animals. Use them wisely." With hearts racing with anticipation, Ethan and Noah said goodbye to their families and the town. Emma and Jack, though worried, knew this was the destiny of their son and his friend. "Take care of each other," Emma asked, hugging them both. The journey to the Great Smoky Mountains was an adventure in itself. Mounted on Thunder, who seemed tireless, they crossed valleys and mountains. Ethan used his connection with plants to find safe paths and food, while Noah communicated with animals to avoid dangers and obtain information about the terrain. On the 3rd day of travel, as they rested by a stream, Ethan's green crystal began to glow intensely. "We're close," he said excitedly. Following the crystal's guidance, they entered the densest part of the forest. The trees here were ancient, their trunks so thick that not even Ethan and Noah together could encircle them with their arms. Suddenly, Thunder stopped, softly neighing. In front of them, hidden among the vegetation, rose an ancient Native American mound covered in vines. "This must be it," whispered Noah, feeling a powerful energy emanating from the structure. As they approached the base of the mound, they found an inscription carved in stone. Ethan, who had learned some ancient Cherokee language from Grandmother Willow, read it aloud. "Only those in harmony with the earth may ascend. The path will reveal itself to the true guardians." As soon as he finished reading, the ground began to tremble. The vines covering the mound moved, forming a path to the top. "It's a test," said Ethan. "We have to prove we're worthy." Step by step, they began to ascend. Each section presented a new challenge. On one level, poisonous plants blocked the way, and Ethan had to use his gift to calm them and move them aside. On another, wild animals appeared, and Noah had to communicate with them to gain their trust and pass. Finally, exhausted and covered in scratches, they reached the top. There, on a stone altar, shone the crystal of earth, a huge green crystal pulsing with energy. "We did it," Noah smiled, panting. But when Ethan approached to take it, a voice boomed around them. "To claim the crystal of earth, you must demonstrate that you understand the balance of nature. One last test awaits you." In front of them appeared 2 plants, a lush but invasive flower that threatened to choke the others, and a small sprout struggling to survive. "Choose wisely," said the voice. "The survival of one will mean the death of the other." Ethan and Noah looked at each other, understanding the depth of the decision. After a moment of reflection, Ethan approached and, instead of choosing, used his gift to balance the energy between both plants, allowing them to coexist in harmony. The altar shone with an intense light, and the crystal of earth floated towards them. "You have demonstrated wisdom and understanding," said the voice. "The crystal of earth is yours." With reverence, Ethan took the crystal. The moment he touched it, a surge of energy coursed through his body, intensifying his connection with nature. He could feel every leaf, every root, every grain of earth for miles around. As they descended from the mound, Noah noticed a change in his friend. "Your eyes," he said, surprised. "They shine like emeralds." Ethan smiled, feeling renewed and more connected than ever to his mission. "This is just the beginning," he said. "There are still 4 crystals to find." At the foot of the mound, Thunder was waiting for them, as if knowing his task here was completed. They mounted him, ready for the next destination in their quest. What they didn't know was that while they celebrated their first victory, a shadow loomed over them. In a secret laboratory, Olivia Blackwood observed a screen showing an energy spike in the Great Smoky Mountains. "We've found them," she smiled coldly. "Prepare the equipment. It's time for Project Genesis to take action." As Ethan and Noah rode towards their next adventure, they were unaware that they would soon face a challenge much greater than any ancient test. The fate of the crystals and of the natural world hung by a thread. The sun was setting over the Great Smoky Mountains when Ethan and Noah, mounted on Thunder, emerged from the dense forest. The crystal of earth pulsed softly in Ethan's backpack, its energy vibrating in tune with the surrounding nature. "Where to now?" asked Noah, stroking Thunder's neck. Ethan pulled out the map Grandmother Willow had given them. "According to this, the next crystal, the water crystal, is located on the Atlantic coast." As they discussed their next move, a strange buzz filled the air. Noah was the first to notice it, his connection with animals alerting him to the imminent danger. "Something's coming," he exclaimed, looking at the sky. From among the clouds emerged a high-tech drone, its camera fixed on the young Guardians. Before they could react, the device fired an electrified net. Thunder neighed and reared up, dodging the attack by inches. Ethan extended his hands towards the nearby trees, and the branches moved like whips, striking the drone and knocking it down. "We have to go," shouted Noah. "There are more coming." They rode at full speed through the forest, with Ethan using his newly amplified power to create a path through the vegetation. Behind them, more drones and the sound of all-terrain vehicles indicated they were being pursued. After hours of flight, they reached a clearing where a helicopter was waiting for them. An elegant but cold-looking woman descended from it, flanked by armed guards. "Welcome, young Guardians," she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'm Olivia Blackwood, director of Project Genesis. You've caused quite a stir." Ethan and Noah exchanged worried glances. Thunder positioned himself protectively in front of them. "What do you want from us?" demanded Ethan, his hands glowing with green energy. Olivia took a step forward, her gaze fixed on Ethan's backpack. "What you carry with you, of course. The Crystal of Earth. It's the first of many we need for our project." "Project?" asked Noah, his senses on high alert. "Project Genesis seeks to control and optimize the forces of nature," explained Olivia. "Imagine a world without natural disasters, with perfect harvests, where we can shape the climate at will. All of that is possible with the power of the crystals." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. Nature isn't designed to be controlled. There's a balance that must be respected. Olivia let out a cold laugh. "Balance is inefficient. With the right technology, we can improve what nature has given us." Suddenly, more drones appeared, surrounding the clearing. Noah concentrated, and a flock of birds emerged from the trees, attacking the devices and creating a distraction. Taking advantage of the chaos, Ethan touched the ground, channeling the energy of the Crystal of Earth. The earth began to shake, and vines sprouted from the ground, entangling the guards and Olivia. "Let's go," shouted Ethan, jumping onto Thunder along with Noah. As they rode away from the clearing, Olivia, struggling against the vines, shouted, "This isn't over! We'll find you!" For days, Ethan and Noah traveled without rest, avoiding roads and towns, fearing that Project Genesis was tracking them. Finally, exhausted, they reached a small coastal village. "We need help," said Noah, dismounting from Thunder. "We can't face this alone." Ethan nodded, pulling out a small communicator that Grandmother Willow had given them for emergencies. It's time to contact the other Guardians. That night, gathered in a hut lent by the kind villagers, Ethan and Noah sent an encrypted message through the communicator. The response came almost immediately: coordinates for a secret meeting. "It seems we're not the only Guardians after all," Noah smiled, feeling a mixture of relief and anticipation. As they prepared for the next chapter of their adventure, Ethan looked at the crystal of Earth, its soft glow in the darkness. "Project Genesis doesn't understand the true power of these crystals," he murmured. "It's not about control, but harmony." Noah put a hand on his friend's shoulder. "And it's our duty to protect that harmony, whatever it takes." Miles away at Project Genesis headquarters, Olivia Blackwood observed maps and data on a huge screen. "I want every satellite, every camera, every sensor focused on finding those boys," she ordered her team. "The crystals will be ours, no matter the cost." Meanwhile, in the depths of the Atlantic Ocean, the water crystal pulsed with an ancient energy, as if sensing it would soon be awakened. The battle for the future of nature had only just begun, and Ethan and Noah were at the center of it. With the threat of Project Genesis looming and the promise of unknown allies on the horizon, the young Guardians prepared for the next step in their mission. The fate of the natural world hung by a thread, and they were the last line of defense. The dawn tinged the waters of the Atlantic golden when Ethan and Noah arrived at the meeting point, a small island away from the usual maritime routes. Thunder, who had faithfully guided them across the ocean, softly neighed as he touched solid ground. "Are you sure it's here?" asked Noah, scanning the apparently deserted beach. Before Ethan could respond, a figure emerged from among the palm trees. It was a young woman with dark skin and eyes shining like stars. "Welcome, young Guardians," she said with a melodious voice. "I am Arya, Guardian of the Air Crystal. We've been expecting you." Ethan and Noah exchanged looks of amazement. They weren't alone in their mission after all. Arya guided them to the interior of the island, where a hidden camp revealed 3 other young people, each with a unique aura that resonated with the elements. "Meet your fellow Guardians," announced Arya. Kai, Guardian of the Water Crystal, Zoe, Guardian of the Fire Crystal, and Ravi, Guardian of the Spirit Crystal. The following days were a whirlwind of intensive training and revelations. Each Guardian shared their experiences and unique abilities. Kai could control ocean currents and communicate with aquatic creatures. Zoe manipulated fire with astonishing precision. Ravi possessed the ability to perceive and channel spiritual energies. Ethan and Noah, for their part, perfected their gifts under the guidance of their new allies. Ethan's control over plants became more refined, while Noah expanded his connection with animals to include species he had never encountered before. One afternoon, while practicing on the beach, Arya gathered everyone for a crucial session. "Project Genesis is more dangerous than you imagine," she warned. "They not only seek to control nature, but to rewrite the fundamental laws that govern our world." Ravi, the most perceptive of the group, added, "I felt disturbances in the Earth's energy field. If they achieve their goal, the natural balance will be irreparably broken." Zoe, always impatient for action, asked, "So what are we waiting for? We should go after them right now." Arya shook her head. "You're not ready yet. You need to master the combined power of the crystals." That night, under a starry sky, the Guardians gathered in a circle with the crystals they possessed in the center. Ethan placed the crystal of Earth, its green energy pulsing in harmony with the others. "Close your eyes and concentrate your energy," instructed Arya. "Feel the connection between you and the elements you represent." As they concentrated, the crystals began to shine intensely. Ethan felt a surge of power course through his body, connecting him not only to plants, but to the very essence of the earth. Noah experienced an expansion of his consciousness, perceiving the web of life that connected all creatures. Suddenly, a shared vision flooded their minds. They saw an ancient world, where the sacred crystals maintained the perfect balance between all natural forces, but they also witnessed the chaos that would be unleashed if that balance were broken. Upon opening their eyes, they were all panting, overwhelmed by the experience. "Now you understand the true magnitude of your mission," Arya said solemnly. "You not only protect the crystals, but the very future of our planet." The following days were of intense preparation. Each Guardian learned to combine their abilities with those of the others, creating surprising effects. Ethan and Kai, working together, could create oases in the middle of the ocean. Noah and Zoe developed techniques to guide animals through forest fires without harm. However, the peace of their training was interrupted one morning when Ravi, in a meditative trance, had an alarming vision. "Project Genesis," he gasped, coming out of the trance. "They've located the water crystal. They're on their way to take it." The news electrified the group. Kai, feeling the connection with his element, closed his eyes in concentration. "It's in the depths of the Mariana Trench. I can feel it calling me." Arya made a quick decision. "It's time to put your training to the test. You must reach the crystal before Genesis does." As they prepared to depart, Ethan approached Thunder, stroking his mane. "Ready for another adventure, friend?" The horse neighed in affirmation, his eyes shining with supernatural intelligence. Noah, observing the interaction, commented, "You know, I've always felt that Thunder is more than just a horse. His presence, it's almost divine." Arya, overhearing the comment, smiled mysteriously. "Thunder has a crucial role in all of this. His true nature will be revealed when the time is right." As the group prepared to set off towards the deep Pacific, each carrying their crystal and the weight of their responsibility, Ethan looked towards the horizon. The fate of the natural world hung by a thread, and they were the last line of defense. "We're ready," he declared with determination, his voice resonating with the power of the earth itself. Kai created an underwater air bubble, allowing them to travel through the ocean. Zoe maintained a flame alive inside the bubble, providing light and heat. Ravi used his abilities to detect hidden dangers in the depths. As they submerged into the dark waters of the Pacific, Ethan couldn't help but feel that this mission would mark a turning point in their adventure. Project Genesis was one step away from obtaining another crystal, and the battle for Earth's future was about to intensify. With Thunder swimming mysteriously beside them, as if water was his natural element, the group of Guardians ventured into the depths, ready to face whatever destiny had prepared for them. The darkness of the marine depths enveloped the young Guardians as they descended towards the Mariana Trench. The air bubble created by Kai glowed faintly with the light of Zoe's flame, casting dancing shadows on their tense faces. "We're close," whispered Kai, his eyes closed in concentration. "I can feel the energy of the water crystal pulsing." Suddenly, Ravi tensed. "We're not alone down here," he warned, his spiritual senses on high alert. Before they could react, a high-tech submarine emerged from the shadows, its Project Genesis logo glowing ominously on the hull. "They found us," exclaimed Noah, preparing for the confrontation. However, the voice that sounded through the submarine speakers left them frozen. "Ethan, Noah, please don't attack. It's me, Sarah, Ethan's mother." The shock was instant. Ethan felt the world stop around him. "Mom," he whispered, incredulous. Cautiously, they allowed the submarine to approach. The hatch opened, and Sarah emerged, her eyes full of tears and remorse. "My son," she said, her voice broken with emotion. "I've waited so long for this moment." The reunion was bittersweet and tense. Sarah explained how she had worked for Project Genesis years ago, believing in their mission to improve the world, but when she discovered their true intentions, she fled to protect Ethan. "I've been working undercover since then," she revealed, trying to sabotage their plans from within. "When I learned they were after the water crystal, I had to intervene." Distrust was palpable among the Guardians. Arya, always cautious, asked, "How can we be sure this isn't a trap?" Sarah pulled a device from her pocket. "This contains all of Project Genesis's plans, their locations, everything. It's my peace offering and my way of making amends for my mistakes." Ethan was torn. On one hand, the child in him yearned to embrace the mother he never knew. On the other, the Guardian in him couldn't ignore the possibility of betrayal. Noah, sensing his friend's conflict, intervened. "We could use that information, but we need to be cautious." The tension of the moment was interrupted by an alarm coming from Sarah's submarine. "They've discovered us," she announced urgently. "Olivia and her team are on their way." The decision was made in seconds. Using Sarah's information and the combined powers of the Guardians, they headed towards the exact location of the water crystal. They found it in an underwater cavern, its blue glow pulsing like an oceanic heart. Kai stepped forward, feeling the call of his element. But just as he was about to take it, The water around them began to stir violently. Huge tentacles emerged from the depths, belonging to a giant squid clearly altered by Project Genesis technology. "It's one of their creations," shouted Sarah. "They're using marine life as weapons." The battle that followed was chaotic. Ethan used seaweed to entangle the tentacles, while Zoe created bubbles of boiling vapor to repel the monster. Noah tried to communicate with the creature, seeking to calm its altered mind. Amidst the chaos, Kai managed to reach the crystal. The moment he touched it, a wave of pure energy expanded through the ocean, calming the waters and restoring balance. The squid, freed from Genesis's control, retreated peacefully into the depths. With the water crystal secured, the group began their ascent, aware that Olivia and her forces were close. On the surface, aboard a ship that Arya had prepared, the tension was palpable. Sarah's presence had opened old wounds and created new uncertainties. Ethan, finally alone with his mother, confronted her. "Why did you really abandon me?" Sarah, with tears in her eyes, responded, "To protect you. Genesis would have experimented on you if they discovered your potential. Leaving you was the hardest thing I've ever done, but I knew you'd be safer without me." The young guardian struggled with his emotions. "I needed you. All these years." "I know," Sarah interrupted, her voice laden with remorse. "And I'll spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to you, if you give me the chance." As Ethan processed this revelation, Arya gathered the group. "We have the water crystal, but Genesis is still a threat. And now with Sarah among us, we must decide our next move carefully." Night fell over the ocean, and with it, the certainty that the true battle was just beginning. The Guardians had won this round, but the emotional cost was high, and the questions outnumbered the answers. Ethan looked towards the horizon, the weight of his heritage and his destiny weighing on his shoulders. The path ahead was uncertain, but one thing was clear: nothing would ever be the same again. Dawn found the Guardians on a remote Pacific island, preparing for their next move. The information provided by Sarah had revealed the location of Project Genesis headquarters, a hidden submarine base in the Bermuda Triangle. "It's a trap," warned Zoe, her fiery temperament reflected in her words. "They're deliberately luring us in." Arya nodded gravely. "No doubt. But it's also our best chance to stop them once and for all." Ethan, still grappling with his emotions after reuniting with Sarah, intervened. "We have no choice. If we don't act now, Genesis will find a way to replicate the power of the crystals." The plan was risky: infiltrate the base, sabotage their systems, and recover any crystals they might have obtained. Sarah, with her inside knowledge, would be crucial to the mission's success. As they prepared, Noah approached Ethan. "Are you sure about this?" Trusting her, Ethan looked at his friend, doubt visible in his eyes. "I'm not sure of anything, but it's our best option." The journey to the Bermuda Triangle was tense. Kai created an air bubble that allowed them to travel underwater, guided by thunder, whose mystical nature seemed more evident than ever in the ocean depths. As they approached the coordinates, a futuristic structure appeared before them, camouflaged among the reefs. Sarah entered the access codes, allowing them to enter undetected. Once inside, they split into teams. Ethan, Noah, and Sarah headed to the core of the base, while the others dealt with security systems and searched for additional crystals. At the heart of the facility, they found Olivia Blackwood working frenetically on a massive machine. Seeing them, she smiled coldly. "Welcome, Guardians." "And Sarah, how unexpected to see you here." Ethan stepped forward. "It's over, Olivia. We won't allow you to destroy the natural balance." Olivia activated a force field separating them. "Destroy? We're saving the world. Imagine a planet without natural disasters, without famines, where we can control the climate at will." "At the cost of nature's freedom," replied Noah. "It's not your decision to make." As they argued, Sarah worked silently on a nearby control panel. Suddenly, alarms began to sound. "Now!" shouted Sarah. Ethan and Noah combined their powers. Plants in the laboratories came to life, entangling themselves in the equipment, while captive marine animals rebelled against their captors. Olivia, furious, activated the defense systems. Robots and guards converged on the room. The battle that followed was chaotic. Ethan created barriers of vegetation, Noah guided the liberated animals against the attackers, and Sarah used her knowledge to sabotage the systems. Amidst the chaos, the Earth crystal began to glow intensely. Ethan held it high, and a wave of pure energy swept through the base, deactivating Genesis technology and restoring the natural balance. Olivia, seeing her dream crumbling, made one last desperate attempt to activate her machine. But Sarah, in a final act of redemption, intervened, receiving an electric shock that left her unconscious. "Mom!" shouted Ethan, running towards her. With the base collapsing around them, the Guardians had no choice but to retreat, carrying an injured Sarah and leaving Olivia to face the consequences of her actions. Back on the surface, aboard a rescue ship, Ethan held his unconscious mother's hand. The other Guardians surrounded him, offering silent support. "We did it," Noah murmured, "but at what cost?" Arya, looking towards the horizon where the sun was setting over the ocean, spoke solemnly. "This battle is over, but the war for nature's balance continues. Our real work is just beginning." As the ship sailed towards an uncertain future, Ethan understood that his journey as a Guardian was far from over. With the weight of the world on his shoulders and his mother's fate in the balance, he prepared for the challenges that were yet to come. The sun was rising over the horizon when the Guardian's ship docked at a small Caribbean island. Sarah, still unconscious, was quickly transferred to a cabin prepared by Arya for her recovery. Ethan didn't leave his mother's side for days, alternating between hope and despair. Noah and the other Guardians took turns accompanying him, offering silent support. One afternoon, as Ethan dozed off next to Sarah's bed, he felt a weak hand on his. He opened his eyes to find his mother's tired but lucid gaze. "Ethan," Sarah whispered, her voice barely audible. "I'm so sorry." Tears welled up in the young Guardian's eyes. "Mum, you're awake. There's so much to say." Sarah smiled weakly. "I know, my boy. But first, you need to know. Olivia won't stop. She has a backup plan." Alarmed, Ethan called the others. Gathered around Sarah's bed, they listened to her revelation. "Project Genesis has a secondary facility in the Rocky Mountains," Sarah explained with difficulty. "That's where they keep the fire crystal. They plan to use it to activate dormant volcanoes and blackmail world governments." Zoe, the Fire Guardian, felt a call within her. "I can sense it. The crystal is restless, as if it knows it's in danger." Arya made a quick decision. "We must act now. Zoe, Kai, and Ravi will go to the Rockies. Ethan and Noah will stay here to protect the crystals we already have and take care of Sarah." Ethan protested. "But I want to go. I can help." Sarah took her son's hand. "Your place is here for now. Trust your companions." With a heavy heart, Ethan watched his friends depart. The following days were a mix of anxiety and long-postponed conversations with Sarah. Slowly, the wounds of the past began to heal. A week later, Ethan's communicator came to life. It was Zoe, her voice broken by static. "We did it," she announced. "We have the fire crystal, but Olivia, she activated the volcanoes before we could stop her." Noah, listening to the conversation, paled. "What can we do?" The answer came in the form of a familiar neigh. Thunder appeared on the beach, his eyes shining with ancient wisdom. "It's time," said Sarah, sitting up with difficulty. "Thunder isn't just a horse. He's the guardian spirit of the crystals, waiting for the moment to reveal his true nature." Ethan and Noah looked at each other, amazed. Following an impulse, Ethan placed the earth crystal on Thunder's forehead. The effect was immediate. A blinding light enveloped the animal, transforming it into a majestic creature, half horse, half celestial being. Thunder's voice resonated in their minds. "Mount up. It's time to restore the balance." Without hesitation, Ethan and Noah mounted. In an instant, they found themselves soaring over the Rocky Mountains, where rivers of lava threatened to destroy everything in their path. Reunited with the other Guardians, they combined the powers of the crystals. Ethan channeled the Earth's strength to create barriers. Kai used water to cool the lava. Zoe controlled the flames, and Ravi invoked winds to disperse the ashes. At the climax of the battle, thunder rose above the volcanoes. With a flash of pure light, the combined energy of the crystals restored balance. The volcanoes calmed, and a supernatural peace descended over the region. Exhausted but victorious, the Guardians returned to the island. They found Sarah standing on the beach, a smile of pride on her face. "You did it," she said, hugging Ethan. "Balance has been restored." As the group celebrated their victory, Arya looked towards the horizon with concern. "We've won this battle, but I feel our mission is far from over." Thunder, returning to his horse form, neighed softly, as if confirming Arya's words. The Guardian's path continued, with new challenges and mysteries ahead. The peace that followed the victory over Project Genesis was ephemeral. A week after the battle in the Rockies, Ravi woke up in the middle of the night, agitated by a disturbing vision. "The balance is still not complete," he announced to the other Guardians, hastily gathered on the beach. "There's a seventh crystal, one we didn't know about." Arya frowned, worried. "A seventh crystal? That's impossible. The legend only speaks of 6. Ethan, however, remembered something. "The symbol on the stones of the sanctuary? There was something that didn't fit." Noah nodded, his mind working quickly. "A dark crystal, right? Representing both destruction and creation." Sarah, who had recovered enough to join them, paled. Project Genesis had theories about such a crystal. They called it the Chaos Core. Thunder, in his equine form, neighed softly, drawing everyone's attention. His eyes shone with ancient wisdom, and his voice resonated in their minds. "The crystal of balance, as it should be called, is neither good nor evil. It is the perfect balance between light and darkness. Without it, the other 6 cannot reach their true potential." Zoe, impatient as always, asked, "Where do we find it?" The answer came in the form of another vision shared by all. They saw an ancient temple hidden in the depths of the Amazon rainforest. "We must go," declared Ethan, his voice laden with determination. The journey to the Amazon was swift, thanks to the combined powers of the Guardians and Thunder's guidance. Upon reaching the temple, they found an imposing structure, covered in vines and mysterious symbols. In the center of the temple, floating in a beam of intertwined light and darkness, was the crystal of balance. Its surface constantly changed, reflecting all colors and none at the same time. When Ethan approached to take it, an ancient voice resonated in the temple. "Guardian of Earth, your heart must be in perfect balance to claim this crystal. One misstep and chaos will reign." Taking a deep breath, Ethan extended his hand. At that moment, he felt all his experiences, his doubts, his love for nature and his friends, the reunion with his mother, all converging at a point of perfect harmony. Upon touching the crystal, a wave of pure energy expanded through the temple and beyond, reaching the confines of the earth. The other crystals, distributed among the Guardians, shone in response. Thunder, transforming into his celestial form, spoke. "The circle is complete. The 7 crystals are united and balance restored. But your mission, young Guardians, is just beginning." Arya, with a proud smile, looked at each of the young people. "Now you are the true protectors of the natural balance. Your duty is to maintain harmony among all elements and guide humanity towards a future in tune with nature." As they left the temple, the group realized that their adventure didn't end here. It was the beginning of a new era, full of challenges and wonders to discover. Ethan, holding the crystal of balance, looked at his companions, his mother, and finally at Noah, his faithful friend from the beginning. "We're ready," he said with conviction, "for whatever comes." And so, under the canopy of the Amazon rainforest, the Guardians prepared for their next chapter, knowing that as long as they were united, no challenge would be too great. As they emerged from the dense jungle, they found themselves facing a world that had changed in their absence. News reports on their communicators spoke of unprecedented weather patterns, unexplained phenomena, and a growing global awareness of the delicate balance of nature. "It seems our actions have had far-reaching consequences," Arya observed, her eyes scanning the horizon. Sarah, who had been monitoring global communications, added, "The defeat of Project Genesis has left a power vacuum. Other organizations are scrambling to fill it, some with good intentions, others not so much." Ethan felt the weight of the crystal of balance in his hand. "Then our work is far from over," he said, determination evident in his voice. Noah nodded in agreement. "We've protected the crystals, but now we need to protect the world from those who would misuse their power." The group decided to establish a base of operations in a remote location, a place where they could monitor global events and respond to threats as they arose. They chose a hidden valley in the Appalachian Mountains, not far from where Ethan and Noah's journey had begun. Over the next few months, the Guardians worked tirelessly. They used their powers to mitigate natural disasters, restore damaged ecosystems, and quietly intervene when human activities threatened to disrupt the natural balance. Ethan and Noah, in particular, found themselves growing into their roles as leaders. Ethan's connection to the Earth deepened, allowing him to sense disturbances in nature across vast distances. Noah's ability to communicate with animals evolved, enabling him to coordinate with creatures around the world to gather information and provide early warnings of environmental threats. One day, as the team gathered for their daily briefing, Ravi burst into the room, his eyes wide with urgency. "I've had another vision," he announced, his voice trembling. "A new threat is emerging, one that could undo everything we've accomplished." The others listened intently as Ravi described what he had seen. A shadowy organization comprised of former Project Genesis members and new allies working to develop artificial crystals that could mimic the powers of the original seven. "If they succeed," Arya said gravely, "they could upset the balance we've worked so hard to maintain." Zoe, her fiery temperament flaring, stood up. "Then we stop them." "We've faced worse odds before." Ethan raised his hand, calming the group. "We will stop them," he agreed, "but we need to be smart about this. We can't just rush in." Sarah, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. "I may be able to help. I still have contacts from my days undercover. Let me see what information I can gather." As the team began to formulate a plan, Thunder appeared at the entrance of their base, his form shifting between his equine and celestial appearances. "Young Guardians," his voice resonated in their minds, "the challenges ahead will test not just your powers, but your unity, your wisdom, and your hearts. Remember, true balance comes not from the absence of darkness, but from the harmony of all forces." Ethan looked around at his friends, his family, and felt a surge of confidence. They had come so far, learned so much. Whatever this new threat might be, they would face it together. "All right, team," he said, his voice filled with resolve. "Let's show the world what true Guardians can do." As they set out on their new mission, the crystal of balance glowed softly, a reminder of the delicate equilibrium they fought to protect. The next chapter of their adventure was just beginning, and the fate of the world hung in the balance. The Guardians knew that their greatest challenges lay ahead, but they were ready. United by their bonds of friendship, empowered by the ancient crystals, and guided by their unwavering commitment to protecting the natural world, they stepped forward into an uncertain future, ready to face whatever threats might arise. And so the legacy of the Crystal Guardians continued, a beacon of hope in a world teetering on the edge of chaos and harmony. Their story, far from over, promised new adventures, deeper mysteries, and the eternal struggle to maintain the delicate balance of nature.